A former Ben Johnson player took a free agent visit with the Chicago Bears and worked out for the team. I react to that. Plus, could the Bears be interested in this pass rusher? We discuss it all here on Chicago Bears Now. But listen, we are trying to get to 125,000 subscribers by the month of August. We're 420 away. Can we get 420 new subscribers in the next 10 days? I get it. It's a lot to ask, but if you want free and daily Bears content, we're the channel for you. Subscribing is free, no charge. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Okay, DJ Chark, pretty notable name, although last year didn't go his way, took a visit with the Bears and worked out for the team. He was one of 6 players that worked out. We'll get to the other workout participants here in a little bit, but this certainly caught my attention because for a couple reasons. One, we haven't really talked about free agent receivers at this point in the offseason for a while, right? Because the Bears wide receiver room is deep. And DJ Chark just hasn't been a player that was on my radar. I don't know if it was because he just didn't do much for the Chargers last year or because he's had injuries or whatever the case may be, but just not a player that crossed my head over the last several months for whatever reason. And I think this is pretty notable that they worked him out. And a couple things stand out to me when you look at his career numbers there on screen. Number one, this is a guy that I thought was really going to take off after 2019 when he had a 1,000-yard season, primarily with Gardner Minshew with the Jaguars. Was still productive after that, but injuries have cut some of his seasons short, including last year when he only played in 7 games and kind of got buried on the Chargers depth chart. But look at 2022. Who did he play for? The Detroit Lions. That was the first full year of Ben Johnson being the play caller in Detroit under Dan Campbell. It's fairly productive, right? 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. One thing that has always stood out is his ability to generate big plays throughout his career, over 3,000 yards in 7 seasons. It's not like this guy's been a bum. When he's been healthy, he's been pretty productive in the NFL, and obviously he knows Ben Johnson, and he would know things about this offense. Obviously, this is not a just copy-paste offense from Detroit. Ben has made that very clear. He's engineering this with Caleb Williams in mind, but I would imagine a lot of the verbiage, some of the concepts, especially route running concepts, would be familiar to what DJ Chark did back in 2022. And, you know, when I first saw the headline, I was like, why would I want DJ Chark? But then when I really think about it, like, I think he actually would offer some things that the Bears wide receiver room doesn't have a ton of. And the main part of that is the big body, the true X receiver prototype, 6'3", 200 pounds. The only guy that really prototypes as an X for the Bears is Rome, who's like 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 205, 210. The rest of the wide receiver room, which we'll take a look at in a sec, is a lot of like 5'9" to 6 foot guys, yards after the catch, kind of shifty, twitchy type of receivers. DJ Chark's a boundary guy who can high point the football and play vertical downfield. The big playability, which points to that, over 14 yards per catch in his career and multiple seasons of over 16 yards per catch. And again, the familiarity with Ben Johnson. So you bring in a guy like this in July or August, not like a ton of catch-up work needed for DJ Chark. Like I said, when you look at this room, and I mentioned this a month, maybe 2 months ago, you don't have that true backup X receiver. Like if Rome Odunze, went on short-term IR, missed 4 games, who's playing the X? And I know, it's kind of positionless these days. They're going to move guys around. It's not just Rome. They're going to play DJ at some X, I would imagine, so on and so forth. They'll move these guys around. They're versatile, but I would like to have another big body receiver on this team. Jade Walker, Miles Boykin, they have bigger frames, but Boykin's bounced around the last couple of years after being a third-round pick 5 or 6 years ago. Walker's a rookie UDFA who's on the NFI list, by the way. Unclear what his situation is as of now. They're the only 2 backup wide receivers with size, and Boykin being the only one who has size with some experience in the NFL. Whereas a DJ Chark, say what you want about him, maybe he hasn't reached his full potential. This is a guy in 7 seasons who has over 3,100 yards and 24 touchdowns. Like, he's played at a high level. He knows Ben Johnson and some of his offensive schematics. So I've kind of grown to this idea over the last few hours, obviously cost dependent. And you think of the potential wide receiver room, DJ Moore being your wide receiver 1, likely will play the Z a lot. Rome Odunze likely will play the X a lot as your number 2. Luther Burden in the slot along with Olamide Zaccheaus. It's obviously a competition to watch throughout training camp. Your backup Z, combination of Tyler Scott, Devin Duvernay, probably only one would make the roster in this scenario. DJ Chark being your backup X. Now, I will throw out the caveat. Let's say they signed DJ Chark right now, today. I think he would have to earn a roster spot. I don't think this would just be a signing with the clear intent of he's going to make the 53-man roster, because he is a player who probably won't offer much on special teams. And if he's not going to start, most backup skill guys contribute on special teams. So that would be a bit of an exception there. So I do think he would have to show enough at the receiver position to make this roster without contributing a lot on special teams. Now, that being said, you get him on the vet minimum, I'm in. Why? Because if you do cut him, no harm, no foul. If he does make the team, I think it's a low risk. I won't call it high upside, but decent upside move. Maybe he comes in, catches 25 to 40 balls, has, 300 to 500 yards or something like that. I think DJ Chark is certainly capable of that. Now, it's a crowded wide receiver room, but he has a pretty good history of being fairly productive. 4 out of 7 seasons, he has over 500 yards in his career. And if it weren't for a couple injury-riddled seasons, that might be 5 or 6 out of 7 seasons. Is he going to return to his 1,000-yard form? Of course not. That's not what you're asking him to do. You'd bring him in, come compete for a role to be your wide receiver 4 or 5, whatever, be that big body type, run 20 routes per game, and that's your role. So I'd be in if it was the minimum. I don't think I'm giving him $5 million or anything like that, but what's his market at this point? It's coming off a year where he had 4 catches in 7 games and was hurt most of the year. So I think there's some intrigue from my standpoint, assuming we're talking about a vet minimum type of contract here. Would you sign DJ Chark to the vet minimum? I think I would. There's basically no risk. If he stinks or if he doesn't make the team, no harm, no foul. If he does, maybe it's a relative high upside move for this wide receiver room. Type S for sign, P for pass. Again, not giving him real money. Vet minimum doesn't impact the cap whatsoever. Now, he was one of 6 players to work out for the Bears today. They also worked out wide receiver Matt Landers. I'll admit, not very familiar with his work. Peyton Hendershot has played some with Dallas and Kansas City. Has been kind of a tight end 3, tight end 4. So, perhaps he'd be a guy if you brought him in, work him into the mix with, the Joel Wilsons, the Stephen Carlson. I don't think he's beating out Durham Smythe, but throw him kind of into that mix where he can battle to be that 4th tight end if they carry 4. Thomas Gordon in there as well. And then Chance Campbell and Javarius Owens, linebacker and safety. 2 players I'm not super familiar with, but a couple positions where you could benefit from adding a depth piece or 2 there. Now, keep in mind when you work out players, typically if you're going to sign them, it's going to happen within 24 to 48 hours. And especially with a guy like DJ Chark, if they're interested, I would imagine they make an offer in the next 24 hours to sign him up. So definitely got to keep an eye on this one and make sure you got us locked in here on the channel in case something does happen. All right, coming up, could the Bears be in the mix for another free agent, this one being an edge rusher who was in the headlines today per one NFL Insider, so stay tuned for that. But first, guys, these have been selling like hotcakes. The Cutoff Bears hoodie. Perfect to wear if you're going out to training camp or early season games. Even when it gets cold, throw on, some long sleeves when you get into, October, November, December, January, hopefully February for the Bears. Wouldn't that be something? It's just good looking, 40% off, $33. I got mine hanging in the back right now. Rocked it on a show last week. Very comfortable, very, agile to move in. Was $55, currently only $33. Chatsports.com/Bears hoodie. That link is in the comments and description of this video. It's an awesome deal. Take advantage today. Okay, Jadeveon Clowney, who we've talked about, here and there throughout the offseason since the Panthers cut him a few months ago. Josina Anderson spoke with Clowney today, and he spoke about his NFL playing future. Here's what he had to say. He said, "I'm still planning to play this season. I've been keeping in touch with 4 to 5 teams." Now, he could be blowing smoke, that it kind of feels like agent talk. Yeah, 4 or 5 teams are interested, one team offered us $8 million. It's going to take 10 to get him signed up. I don't know what his market is. I don't know how many teams are talking to him, but I could buy that 4 or 5 teams are interested. Why? Because A, I hope the Bears are one of them, and B, he's still solid. I think people look at Jadeveon Clowney, it's like, this guy's a big failure. He bounces around the league. How come he doesn't stick one place for more than a year or 2? And while there's some truth and question to why that is, you look at his career, yes, and I've said this a million times, he has and will never live up to being the number one pick, and not just the number one pick, like this guy's going to change the way defensive ends play. Like we all remember the hit at South Carolina when he just blew up the Michigan running back. Like he's never going to be a Hall of Famer. But that doesn't mean he hasn't had a very, very, very good career. He's been a tremendous run-stopping edge for pretty much his entire career, and he's been kind of a streaky pass rusher, 60-something sacks. Over his career, he averages like 7 a season. Like, he's a good football player, and last year, he still graded out well per PFF, over 70, which is well above average. Pass rush grade was good. Run defense slipped a bit. He's got a bit of a knee issue now, so he can't play every snap. The practice reps are going to be limited for him, but, he's not going to be that dominant edge setter anymore in the run game, but still had 44 pressures. His pressure rate was 12.7%. That's above average. Like, that's what I would call him. He is an above average edge defender at this point in his career. You know how many above average edge defenders the Bears have? For sure one, maybe two. Montez Sweat is obviously better than above average. Even last year on a down year, he was above average. Dayo Odeyingbo, I would put him in the above average category. Who else is above average? We're hoping, if you told me today Austin Booker will be above average when you compare him to the rest of the league this year at edge, sign me the hell up. I will take that today. Daniel Hardy, Dominique Robinson, I would take that for any of these guys. The reality is you're hoping one of those guys gets there. With Clowney, I know he's that. He's above average. He's not a superstar. He's not great. He's not even his peak anymore. But he's still good. He can still play. And I think as an edge 3 role, when he can't play every snap anymore, he could play, 50 to 60% of the snaps on any given Sunday. I think last year he played 650 snaps. So you divide that by 17, quick math. You're looking at I don't know, what's that, 40 snaps a game or so? Perfect. Sign me up. I would be in for that all day long. Same with Zadarius Smith. You get one of these guys signed up, you feel a lot better about that room. I don't think there's anything they can do, barring a Micah Parsons trade, Trey Hendrickson, whatever, that would make you feel incredible about the edge group. But if you just signed one of these 8-10-year vets that kind of just knows how to play, you'd feel a lot better with that trio of Sweat, Odeyingbo, and insert the third guy, and then trickle down effect from there. So I'd like to see them do this. I hope they're one of the teams talking to Clowney. I don't know if they are, but if they are, that would make me a happy customer, and hopefully they can get a deal done. Should the Bears sign Jadeveon Clowney? What say you? Type Y for yes or type in for no. You guys know where I stand, and quite frankly, it doesn't have to be Clowney. If it's Zadarius Smith too, I'd probably prefer Smith, to be honest. Either one of these guys, I would be all over that. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Keep an eye on the DJ Chark thing. I think that's certainly pretty interesting. And obviously Clowney as well. If any developments happen there, we will break it down on a video. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon.